society's really only fine with men being breadwinners. Yeah. And I think that has to change too. If women are going to have more power outside of the home, something has to change inside of the home that allows men to have a bit more flexibility.
Talk a little bit about the home power dynamic, okay? About the high-earning woman, she ends up doing more housework than the unemployed man. Isn't
that crazy? Isn't that crazy, but you kind of know it's true?
Well, I know it's true. I haven't lifted a finger. I mean, my mother used to iron my boxer shorts when I was a kid, okay?
My sons
I know we're in this like woke culture now, and I'm supposed to be this like women's liberal and stuff like that. But if your mother's ironing your boxer shorts and you grew up in this Italian patriarchy, what do you want me to do? How do you want me to act?
Yeah, like my husband's dad, who was born in 1914, right, on the eve of the First World War, he wouldn't have known a play date or a lunchbox if it had hit him on the head. He wouldn't have known what a diaper was, right? He didn't have any engagement. So my husband has no role model in his life for organizing play dates, doing the housework, because his dad never did any of that.
Yeah, well,
his mom did it all. And I think that's...
I haven't met your husband, Katty. I already like him, okay? I already like him.
Yeah, except that then he comes along and marries me and suddenly I'm going to shape up. But look, so this was just wonderful, that a man in America who doesn't have a job does less housework than a woman who has a full-time job.
But let me ask you this, though, and this is a very honest question, though. Do you feel that sometimes men who have high-powered, high-earning women feel emasculated, that smashes their ego?
So true. I mean, look, it's not just that I feel it. The data is there on this. That couples where the wife earns more than the husband are more likely to get divorced than couples where the husband earns more than the wife. We found in our book this amazing research that a third of American women now earn more than their husbands. Right. And the number is growing every year. But in couples where the wife earns more, guess what they do? They lie about it on the US Census form. Because they want to make their marriage look like a so-called traditional marriage. Right. They're kind of protecting the guy's ego by saying, he actually earns more than I do. They'll go so far as to lie on a government document in order to kind of maintain this idea. But actually, you know what we concluded from that? First of all, it's crazy, obviously, and it's sad. And we interviewed a guy who quit work and his wife became the primary breadwinner. And he told us that he felt he had failed at the one thing he was meant to achieve, which was being the breadwinner in the family. And we just thought, how sad is that? I mean, actually, the conclusion of this is that men are in a box. Men's options are so much narrower than women's. I can work full-time. I can work part-time. I can stay full-time with my kids. And society is fine with all of that. Society is really only fine with men being breadwinners. Yeah. And I think that has to change too. If women are going to have more power outside of the home, something has to change inside of the home that allows men to have a bit more flexibility.
Our brains are not that evolved. Okay, so if you really study the brain, it's not that evolved. You have the cortex and then so you're laughing because I'm right about this. The neocortex is literally the size of 6 playing cards. And that's where all the consciousness is. And so the atavism that a man has is quite primordial. He has to be the breadwinner. He's protecting the cave. He's out there hunting. The woman is gathering. People could be mad at me for saying this, but this is why we've evolved the way we've evolved. And now we're becoming more enlightened and we're making more of a transformation. And now because of our society, we're able to be more equal. But women, Katty, didn't get the right to vote in the United States until 1/5 of the 20th century was over. Yeah. And then they got the right to vote in the United States. So I think we've made a lot of progress. Am I wrong in saying that? Or no, I know it's not perfect, and I know we haven't gotten to where we should be in terms of where a normative standard would be in a society. But have we made a lot of progress, or am I wrong in saying that?
So when I started earning more than my husband a few years ago, and I write about it in the book, we had to have some pretty tricky conversations about he had to help more in the house, or my travel schedule might have to take, priority because I was the one that was bringing in more money. And they weren't the easiest of conversations to have, even, in a household like mine, where he's been used to me working. And it has kind of changed the dynamic. And I remember actually, but women have to do something here too, right? We have to give up some control over this. We have to cede some of our domain here, because I remember when my kid's school started putting him as the kind of primary contact to call if there was an emergency at school. And I remember the first time I realized that was happening, feeling sort of displaced, feeling like my role as a mother and feeling kind of guilty. And then I thought, actually, this is exactly what needs to happen. I have to be able to cede some of that stuff at home in order for me to be able to carry on doing
what I love about that is what you're saying is so brutally honest, and by the way, because I follow you on Twitter, now known as X. I mean, you've had some, and I hope your mom and dad are still alive. You have some beautiful pictures of your mom and dad that you've showed.
They died actually during COVID, but that's very sweet of you.
Oh, is that right? But I do remember you sitting at a table with them, and you could see their pride in you. And I'm like, all right, this is like a cool family. So but implied in that is that there's some levels of traditionalism that even you, as a very powerful woman, you're just describing it in terms of your displacement, you have to also go through some cognitive awareness and adjustment, right?
I think so. And I think we also have to be, rather than just getting mad that men aren't picking up the vacuum cleaner enough, I think we have to have some empathy. Women have to have more empathy about this kind of narrow box that men are in. I mean, I think of my husband as a sort of sandwich generation. He came from this background where his dad didn't do any of this stuff. And he's got no role model. And yet suddenly everybody's giving him a hard time if he doesn't do 50% of the housework.
Amen.
But look at the change he's gone through, right? He does pick up our kids from school. He does help with homework. He does organize play dates. And it's easy to focus on all of the stuff that husbands and men aren't doing. We document them in the book. And it'd be great if they step up, but also think how hard it is, that his brain, sometimes I can see it working like, hold on a second, I'm not doing enough, but my dad didn't do any of this. What's my role here? And then I get a hard time if I'm not a full-time dad, but I also get a hard time if I'm not a full-time breadwinner, right? We have to figure that out.